Alright, we're back again, and it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day. I wanted to jump right in with one of the properties of insulation foam that I forgot to mention yesterday. The board is meant to, when used for its actual purpose, is meant to connect to pieces in such a way to reduce the amount of airflow between the joining edges. And for that reason, they are made so that they overlap. Now, these actually have one face that is 2 foot and one face that is a couple of inches shy of 2 foot, as you can see here. And the idea is that they would you would take one piece and lay it here, and then they would go together like puzzle pieces. That doesn't do us any good for our purpose. It just leaves us with a big gaping hole where we want there to be insulation board. So what I have done is actually cut off the excess from one of the sheets and filled in the overlap area with another sheet, and as you can see, that wasn't a perfect fit. It turns out that not every board is the same, has the same width, but it's close enough, at least for my purposes right now. Some of the other boards, like the thinner boards, and maybe it's a proprietary thing, or maybe it's depending on the thickness, but some of them just have a groove on one side and then kind of a tongue on the other. And in that case, you can just sort of shave off the tongue with a sharp knife on one side, and then flip it to the other side and insert it and glue it down into the groove. That's what I did on the gamma range map. So yeah, that was something that had to be dealt with, and you will need to deal with, assuming that you want, and you probably do. If you're doing a HeroClix map, you're going to want that full width, right? So you're going to need to figure out what to do with that excess bit there. So that was my solution. And now, of course, with each level, I have what looks like 4 layers of foam at those edges. The next thing I wanted to point out is, I think I mentioned briefly that I didn't have a hot wire cutter, that I had a hot knife, and so I thought I'd show that to you. Actually, I have 2 sizes. These are from the Hot Wire Foam Factory. This one's like the spike that I mentioned, and this one is really more like a wire. As you can see, they're not on. If you decide to buy a hot wire cutter, keep in mind there's a reason why they call them hot wire cutters, because they get really, really hot. And if you were to touch bare skin with it, it's like I'm even afraid to touch my hand with it when I know it's not even plugged in. You will leave a mark, and it will hurt. So don't do that. Now I have used these already on the on level 2 and a little bit on level 1 to cut out these areas, but I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to use these to try and cut a really straight cut, because this is really flexible, and so unless you go super slow and you're really steady, there's no way to make sure you're getting a completely flush cut. And with this one's super thick, so you actually need to go slower, and by going slower, your cut actually expands the longer it sits in one place, because it's constantly essentially eating into the foam and melting it away. So something to keep in mind there. There's a guy I follow on Tumblr who has a Tumblr called Stonecutters Guild, and while he does terrain-like stuff. It's not really for gaming. It just looks like gaming terrain, and he uses gaming figures, and the stuff is awesome. And he said that he never uses a hot wire cutter to do any straight cuts. He says he only uses it when he's going to do rounded cutting, and I can totally see why that would be the case. But I have seen some what are essentially like table saws set up for doing straight cutting with a hot wire, and you know, if I can remember, I'm going to put a link up for there's a guy here on YouTube that has a lot of tutorials on building hot wire cutters, including some really impressive looking, you know, tabletop styles, both big ones and little ones, hand cutters, all kinds of things. And I'm one of these days planning to actually build something like that myself, because I actually really love doing this stuff. So hot wire cutters, what I have been using these for really is sculpting tools. And when I say that, I mean to get these edges. Let me move the camera here. All right, so that's my mountain edge. It's going to be a little fragile, I think. And my plan is to varnish these when I'm done, to give it a little bit more rigidity. And I think I have some water-based varnish in the basement here at the store that I can use that would take care of that nicely. But essentially what I've been doing is taking this and just letting it melt in a little bit, and sometimes pulling it out. And I don't have this on, or else I could actually show you, and maybe I will do that in a little bit. But I'm back to the point where I need to open the store again, so why don't I come back? Really like the magic of video. It's actually been 2 days since that last segment was shot, so as far as you're concerned, that was just seconds ago. But yeah, anyway, so here is the hot wire, and yes, it is hot, and perhaps I can get it to focus better on this. Yeah, that's a little better. So how hot is it? It's that hot. So hot that it's like butter, literally like butter. But the faster you go, the more it resists, because it hasn't quite heated it up enough to, you know what, I don't want to ruin that edge. That's the, oh, I guess they're both straight edges. Oh, we'll do this. If I go slow, there's no resistance. If I try to push it, it stops. So there is sort of a limit to how fast you can go through there. Oh, and I forgot to get my paper towel. Usually what I have is a paper towel handy so that I can wipe the excess goo off of the wire so that it doesn't smolder. Let me go do that. Maybe there's a better way to do this. I don't know, but I have a thick paper towel folded many times so the heat doesn't get through, and then I just wipe the wire and get rid of the excess plastic that's on there, and yeah, so then it doesn't smolder. But anyway, that's the basics here. And yeah, as I said, it's been a couple of days, so I've kind of lost my train of thought in terms of where I was going with this particular demonstration. But so, you know, I do remember that I said I was using this basically as a sculpting tool, and let's see if there's an area here that I haven't done. Oh, there's a large area on this side I haven't done yet. So you can see how here is very textured. So I'm getting my rocky texture. But over here, has not happened yet. So essentially all I'm doing is letting the hot wire drop into the foam to create recesses and ridges. And I have one issue right here, which is that this isn't quite flush, and if you can see on the top, I'm having to dig into my grid in order to kind of even it out. But it's okay. I would like the taper to run this way, but if it runs inward, that's okay too, I suppose. But I can definitely even it out some with the hot wire, and it's okay. I can utilize up to, I would say, a fourth of these squares without concern of playability. But any more than that, and I risk, anytime anybody's on that square, of them falling off. So we don't want that. But I don't mind eating into it, and as I think I mentioned earlier, that making the edges seem more precarious to fight on seems kind of fun to me. So let me just do a little bit more of this. Sometimes I just go in and dig out a chunk. What you don't want is you don't want it to repeat the same thing over and over, right? You don't want it to look mechanical, you want it to look natural. So in order for it to look natural, it cannot be super, super regular. Although you do occasionally get interesting regularity in nature, but in this case, that's not what we want. Whenever you see repeated patterns in nature, it always seems odd and is something that you would remark upon. So we don't want people to go, oh, that looks man-made. And remember, super, super, super hot. I already touched my hand with this today. Right there. Just a brief touch, and I've got a nice red mark. So yeah, avoid at all costs. Alright, so that's how I'm doing my edge, and if any of you have suggestions on how to better do this, I would love to hear them. But for now, I've actually done quite a bit of this with this method, as you can see. Right? This still needs to have a 1 inch, I'm going to cut this off and then add a 1 inch segment that will then sort of be blended in. Yeah, and this whole area. So I actually did cut these with this. I still need to go in and drop a mini in here to make sure the bases fit, because I'm pretty sure that's too tight at the moment. So I would need to go through and widen this out so that it actually works. This is 1 square too deep, but I'm not going to worry about that. It's not that big a deal. I was trying to match it exactly, and I had that one mistake, and I went, you know what? Nobody's going to know but me. Well, and all of you, but once it's done, you'll forget that I even said that, right? Right? Okay. You know what, I think what I want to do now is look at replacing this piece here. So I'm going to get set up to do that, and I'll be right back. So this is another tool that I find really useful in working with the foam, and that's just a straight up box knife. This has actually got a really nice, I think it's a tungsten blade, but it will cut through this stuff really easily if it's sharp. There's also a grain to this to the foam, so you'll find sometimes if you're going in certain directions, it's going to skip. You know, the blade will want to almost pry up bits of foam, especially if your knife is not sharp. I do have one problem here, and that is that the blade is only going to go that deep, which is not even halfway through one level. So I'm just trying to make sure that, you know, I've got a full cut there. And then I'm going to score it across this way. And I know this isn't the best way to do this. Ideally, I would have a nice nice long knife to do this. You know, it's actually a really good knife to use when you're just hacking at this stuff and you're not worried about a completely clean cut is like a bread knife, a serrated edge. I've used that before, and especially when you want to end up with a rough edge as opposed to a smooth edge. And so that's, you know, just something to think about. Yeah, so you know what, I might actually use I was thinking I might use the hot knife to finish this up. I think I'm going to go find myself a longer tool to do this. So this is one of those situations where I don't have the right tool. Be right back. Alright, so I've made a field adjustment to my knife here. I think I'm probably not using this in a safe manner as it doesn't completely retract anymore. But now I'm getting a little bit more out of the blade. And I think what I may end up doing is saving this task until later. If I take this to my shop, I can lay this down on my table saw and get a nice clean edge on that, more or less. So I think that's what I'm going to do. This isn't a bad way to cut thinner sheet, but yes, bad way to do this. So I'm not going to continue doing this. I'm really not. Oh, by the way, see there? See how it's... Anyway, I'm going to make this knife safe again. Actually, there is one thing I can do, and I'm going to see if I can do that, and that would be to work on level 3 and get that gridded out. And you didn't actually get to see me do the grid here, so if I can shoot a little bit of that, that would actually make this day more useful. So let me go see if I can do that, and if not, this video will abruptly come to an end. So maybe goodbye, and maybe I'll be right back. We'll see what happens. Alright, so this is level 3 here, and what I've decided to do is grid out the maximum proportions here. Obviously this isn't perfectly square, so what I've done is counted out the widest points on either side. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares across that way, which is 13.5, and then it's 11 squares this way, which is 15.5. So I'm going to create a 15.5 by 13.5 inch grid, more or less in the center of this, because I mean normally I would work with a given flat edge to make things easier, but this doesn't really have a nice square edge. Then what I'll do is glue the other piece underneath, so that I've got my, oh, this one's already got a grid started on it. I might actually use this one as my, as the basis. I'll have to make sure that this is a good grid. But anyway, I can glue these together and then cut the outline on the table saw. And yes, I know you don't all have a table saw, but you should. The saw is something I bought a couple of years ago. I've been slowly trying to build up my selection of tools for my shop, and it's really sort of a starter table saw. It's small, not very powerful, but for something like this, perfectly good. So, right. So I'm gonna see if I can use this grid to get myself started. Same problem, which is that, you know, I have no good starting edge on this, but at least I already have the makings of a grid right here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I think. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. So why don't I get started, and then I'll bring you back when I've got something going here to look at. Alright, so I finished gridding this off. The giant square really helps make that go a lot faster. And then I drew out the outer edges of the level itself. So this is going to be my primary cut here, 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 and here with the table saw, and then the rest of this I'll probably use the hot wire so that I can get my mountainous edge. But I think that's all I'm going to do for now, and I'm going to bring this home tonight, and then tomorrow I will see if I can rough out these levels. And then I have one more level after this, and that is this little final level 4 here. And once I get all that cut, I'll have all my pieces and I'll be ready to go. And that is it for now. I'll talk to you later.